Okay.
Hi, everyone.
That doesn't mean everybody has to stop chatting.
I know.
But we are.
Welcome, everyone. Wisconsin. Oh, I had so much fun in Madison, Wisconsin a few years ago for this IMLS thing. I loved Wisconsin, and I'm a huge cheese person, so I was pretty indulgent. Welcome.
It's fabulous to have all you guys here. Hey, Roll Tide. Yeah, I totally am feeling that. I guess we should go ahead and get started. It is our appointed hour,
let's do it.
Isn't it? Okay, so I'll go ahead and say hello first. My name is Wendy Stevens, and you guys have met Megan, who is wonderful as well. Thank you for putting up with our conversations about other aspects of wellness as we got ready for this. I think by default, the audio and video are turned off. So, I guess keep them that way. Maybe if we have time, we can always do a little Q&A at the end, and keep using that chat. And if you've got questions, pop them in there so that we can be sure to address those. There's a couple of hashtags if you want to use them: Library 2023 and Library Mental Health and Wellness. So thrilled to have everybody here today. This warms my heart to see everybody here and engaged in all of this. Let me find here I am with I'm like, where was my little thing to move my slides? Okay, yes, we started our recording. Oh, and we're going to thank San Jose State, where I have to say, Michael Stevens, who I did my PhD alongside him, even though we're not related, that we spell our name the same way. He's also written some great resources on what he calls wholehearted librarianship. So I recommend those if you're looking into this affective paradigm of librarianship that we're going to be talking about. So Megan, do you want
the second I muted myself, sorry.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan. I'm the creator of the Healing Library, which we'll get into in a moment. I'm also the author of a book about creating programming for teens and tweens. I've won some library type awards, and then I've been helping LJ and SLJ professional development as a facilitator, and more recently as a host and a designer of some courses, consultant kind of thing, for a few years now. And that's my contact info. Go ahead, Wendy. Sorry.
Okay.
Do you want to go back one?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I missed myself too. For some reason, my arrows are weird. I'm an associate professor, and I chair the school library program, helping teachers who are becoming school librarians here at Jacksonville State University. I was a school librarian for about 15 years before that. And I put all of my wisdom of running a school library into this little book from ABC Clio, Mindful School Libraries. I started talking about this pre-pandemic, and this book was supposed to come out in May of the pandemic year, and we actually ended up postponing it so I could add another chapter about mindfulness in difficult times. But there's my contact info. So I'm going to try to catch up now, Megan.
Sure.
Okay, there you go.
So just as a heads up, we are both presenting today from the original land of the Saliguariai tribe, which is commonly referred to as the Cherokee Nation here in the southeastern region of the United States. If you would like to learn more about them, I'll share a link in the chat in just a moment where you can check out their official government page, or you might like to also check out the work of my personal favorite Cherokee poet, who is Marilu Awiakta. She's got some fabulous stuff about the intersection of technology, specifically like some nuclear bomb stuff that took place here in the Tennessee area where I'm from, and the intersection of being an Appalachian and First Nations woman. Fabulous stuff. Okay. Just as a reminder to folks, I know you've probably heard this a few times throughout the course of these sessions that you've been a part of today, but we trust you completely. We know that today's activities are optional, and you should care for yourself, as you all know how to do best, whether that's taking a deep breath, putting us on mute, walking away for a minute, going to get a cup of water. Everything is going to be recorded, so you won't miss anything. Similarly, if you're interested, we're going to do an activity at the end. If you can locate something to write with and some sort of scrap paper that we can destroy in some way, you'll want to find that while we're talking. When we say library worker or librarian, we both consider those terms interchangeable. And finally, you will see text that we're probably not going to read. We wanted to give you a robust set of materials today, but we know that we're under a time crunch and we want to respect your time. So we've written more than we're going to say. Okay, next slide. So to start with, big day. You've already probably been a part of a few sessions, so we wanted to start out with just a deep breath. So if you're feeling comfortable, you're all off camera and you're all on mute, we thought we would do some breathing together. So go ahead and if you have something in your hands, put it down. You can put your hands on your lap. You can put them on your chest. If you like to center yourself that way, you can put them on your desk, whatever works for you. And I like to close my eyes when I do my breathing exercises. So you'll see me close my eyes. If you're comfortable doing that as well, you may also. And I'm just going to say a few things that will help us all sort of recenter and get ready to share this material together. Okay, here we go. So we're going to breathe in for a slow count of 4. We're going to hold our breath for 1, and then we're going to breathe out for 4 and hold our breath out for 1. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, hold. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, hold. I'm going to let you continue that for about 20 seconds, and then you'll hear me give you a thinking prompt. Go ahead. So no matter where you were before this, working the desk, writing a grant application, helping with reference services, student interactions, making calls to parents potentially, no matter what happened before this, that's okay, that can exist. Right now, you can honor your brains and your wit and yourselves by breathing slowly and allowing yourself to be present. Go ahead and breathe comfortably for yourself. You can open your eyes when you're ready. We'll breathe in deeply once more and hold. And breathe out once more. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Go ahead, Wendy.
Thank you, Megan, for that. That was absolutely a great way to get started. And to kind of then counter with something really terrible. I feel like so many people never even heard about social emotional learning, which is a big component of what we're tying into mindfulness today, until they started hearing the criticism kind of on the heels of critical race theory. It ended up being, because it does talk about feelings and people's feelings about gender and race and just being alive. So many people saw this as potentially injurious for young people. So I think it's kind of a negative thing that this is bubbling up this way. But to me, I began this work thinking the future is going to be the affective paradigm. And now post Chat GPT, I'm thinking even more so that we're going to have to be spending all this time post pandemic, renegotiating work-life balance. And I think part of our role is to help our people do that too, our students, our library patrons, as well as ourselves. But social emotional learning, if you look the headlines right now, it's not the most positive thing. I think the easiest and simplest way to start integrating social emotional learning is just using the language. And this is, the mood meter, which there are 2 different access to these. And you may have seen a lot of different graphs. One of them is energy and one of them is like pleasantness, positivity, negativity sort of thing. But the whole idea just being that by being able to assess yourself and see where you are in these dimensions, I've seen this even applied to here, these are activities that are good to do when you're in, a low energy, but a high pleasantness state. So, but giving students the tools to articulate what they're feeling and really feel what they're feeling. Just like we took a moment to do that, I think is so valuable. This is the mood meter, which if you haven't seen the mood meter, this was developed by the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. And just getting familiar with this type of vocabulary and just naming sort of what you're going through. And to me, that's something that's so simple. It's just a basic grounding, getting started, bell ringer type of thing that you might want to do as you're convening a group and talking with them and getting a sense of kind of where they are. Here's the same kind of concept, but in a circle. So, rather than being on direct axes, but just using this vocabulary and becoming familiar with it and really staying in touch with how you're feeling and who you are, that sort of thing. So, why is this a positive thing? And basically, social emotional learning schools, which spend time on this, we used to call it character ed when I first got started in education. And the joke was, if you wanted to show a Disney film, you could always tie it into character ed. I think the same thing is true about social emotional learning. And I do feel like this is becoming a larger and larger role of what we're seeing in schools as kids are kind of acclimatizing to more face-to-face things, more social things that they might have backed away from in the last few years, and they might have some deficits in socializing, that sort of thing. But so many of the issues that we see in public libraries and school libraries and we identify as behavioral problems are really problems with impulse control, self-regulation, just kind of problem solving. So these, I think, are a way of looking at the things that we're already doing to a large extent. So I'm going to look at these 5 dimensions, and I know that Megan's going to talk about them as well, because these are sort of the I guess the way that you can break these down in a way that I think is very friendly, easy to integrate across library settings and across different types of tasks. So you have self-awareness, which involves identifying and recognizing emotions, self-perception, and recognizing your strengths, needs, and values. And I think ways that we can think about that in the library, identifying and recognizing emotions. When we question during story time, what are we doing but reinforcing those types of emotional concepts? Expressing self-perception. We do so much of this with our arts and crafts programming and giving students opportunities to speak. I know we used to do a lot of poetry slams and different types of things like that. But giving people this wonderful, space and time to be able to share their creativity with the group as well. So recognizing strengths, needs, and values, all the different programs that are related to creative writing, whether it's creating and publishing your own sort of anthology or showcasing individual student works, doing contests. Also, you might notice that, we're all in a quest for more self-knowledge, personality inventories, especially if you're working with teens. They love this type of thing, learning inventories. They want to know more about themselves. So it's a way for you to approach that. In terms of the dimension of social awareness, this is taking a perspective of a wider group, developing empathy, the thing that literature and fiction in particular is so excellent at, and really cultivating a respect for others and others' opinions, something that we can focus more on today. So using strategies like becoming a devil's advocate or doing debates amongst different groups, and it might, be something as, which is the best anime series if it's your teen group. In terms of empathy, sharing what do you like to read? Why do you like to read it? Some of the best teen book groups that I know of in the Birmingham area, they don't prescribe a single book for everyone to read, but everyone comes and shares what they have been reading and tries to kind of sell that to their peers. Respect for others, bringing in guest speakers from groups they might not have heard of, just having group encouragement and ways where people can praise each other and just develop a very supportive atmosphere, and really promoting acceptance and the types of social interactive activities that feed into that. In terms of decision making, again, some things that you can use to frame or to integrate within your library practice. Here in terms of problem identifying and responding to youth concerns, community concerns, things that are going on, and figuring out ways that you can help students address those and develop agency for themselves. problem solving, showcasing student work. It's always so huge in school settings when students are able to see their work on display. Sort of Rube Goldberg contraptions, this type of making and things that are going on. You know, I was in a great library the other day that had a roller coaster contest, and so they had all different types of roller coaster tracks that had been developed. All the different upcycling programs, if they're sewing or if they're making, I found out the other day that you can recycle 3D filament, which I didn't know, and that just made me so much happier than I ever thought it could. But just again, having a place that's safe for sharing, promoting reflection. You know, we do this automatically in schools with kind of exit slips and things at the end to sort of what is your takeaway from this, but also developing an authentic audience by either by publishing things online or in print via a library imprint, or helping students define those types of publication opportunities for themselves. So in terms of self-management, you know, impulse control is such a huge thing that so many young people struggle with, and you can gamify this. You can do it with gaming, but you can also develop ways when you meet with students as a group to sort of help them in this way. In terms of managing stress, you know, promoting physical and mental activity. It seems like more and more libraries, you know, are doing story walks and things where people are actually interacting with the environment. I love things like History Pin, where you can actually overlay the physical on the virtual on the physical, and just providing space and time for social interaction, because I think that's a huge thing. In terms of motivation, you know, keeping that focus on the future orientation, and giving people something beyond the here and now. Really contextualizing effort and rewarding that in terms of not always focusing on the final project and the achievement, but really saying, you know, you've strived in this, and this is a good thing. And again, with the authentic audiences for work, affinity audiences, I would say as well. So the last one is interpersonal skills. And this is really looking at, in terms of communicating with others, more cooperative activities, activities where people who don't necessarily know each other aren't on the same grade level or in the same classes get to work together and pool their knowledge and their creativity, having more group activities and programs. Promoting cooperation with others. You know, to me, the Teen Advisory Board is such a great example of this, because you're constantly negotiating norms and outcomes. Things like escape rooms where people are forced to communicate and talk and share strategies. Scavenger hunts. That was always my favorite thing to do in terms of an orientation type lesson in my library. Conflict management, thinking about you know, gaming again, and how you play, but without rancor. Promoting book discussions and having different interpretations be validated, and just the whole idea of democratic processes for things like your different groups deciding what they want to do, things that can be so challenging. During the pandemic, I went to a really good professional development seminar where it talked about the rose and the thorn, and I have since expanded that to include the bud. But this was really invaluable for my classes that met face-to-face in the pandemic. And other things I wanted to stress, you know, if you're doing information literacy, think about formative assessments. Don't make everything about the end result. Offer those opportunities for reflection, provide multiple attempts, and provide choice. Choice is huge, and just the way we want to choose amongst a wide variety of reading, we want to choose amongst a wide variety of assessment tools. This is what I consider to be the grandmother of mindfulness in school libraries. It's written by Lynn Everts, who I got to hear it in AASL, the first one I went to in 2005. But to me, this is always what I wanted my library to be, which was a sanctuary for my students, many of whom had really complicated family lives. And there's also a really good Knowledge Quest article on resilient reading, which I would recommend as well. I do think library anxiety is still a huge thing, and especially for the students that may need the space the most. And we are in a field that has actually validated anxiety as a component of, you know, the most common activities which are taking place in our spaces. So when you think about that, I think we can also appreciate the value of the library as a third space. I always said in the school, it's not the classroom, so you're not being graded. It's not home, so you don't have your parents overlooking. So it's very egalitarian. I'm not a fan of the coffee shop and libraries concept because I hate any kind of consumer imperative being introduced in that, because to me, the fact that it is so open and egalitarian is huge. I think we need to remember that we always want our libraries to be big and bustling, but for some students, might be the only quiet place they have. I think about one of my principals who said to me, for many students, school is, it was a very industrial, no frills school, but he said, this is going to be the nicest building they're ever in. And I think about that a lot in terms of your library space. For some people, this is going to be maybe municipal and antiseptic, but it's going to be the nicest space they're in. And for some people, it may be their only quiet moment. I think we have more and more opportunities, whether it's pets or plants, but bringing the outside in, having more spaces which are open to the outside. And I'm a huge believer in really promoting the breadth of our collection rather than having like a one book, one school, letting everybody know, yes, you can pick a different book and you can still participate in the conversation about the topic. If you don't have a Library of the Future Trends card set, I highly recommend them. They're super, super fun whenever you're talking about the future of libraries. Short reading is one of the things that they focus on. And just a reminder, picture books are for everybody. Do not push people past picture books because they are so emotionally gratifying and uplifting. So that's my little portion of this. I'm sorry if I went too long, Megan. I'm eager to hear from you now. And I'm going to switch over to, how did this work?
Okay. I've got it.
Oh, you got it. Good deal.
I got it. Okay. So I'm going to do a quick overview of the Healing Library. We wanted to give you some information about SEL, but also leave you with something that you could begin implementing immediately. So the breathing exercise is one example of that. So the Healing Library is a project that started in 2017. Our goal is to provide families with materials that assist them during, following, or now ahead of trauma that may take place in their lives. We create all of these materials as a team and then release them as a free PDF that anybody can download and create their own kits or just point patrons towards if they're in need of the materials. The goal is that it's not just children learning these skills, it's not just adults learning these skills, but rather they're completing this at the same time and building their emotional toolkits, their SEL toolkits. We utilize Every Child Ready to Read principles, SEL core competencies, and then holistic art, play, eco, and bibliotherapy-based activities. This is my team of fabulous contributors. So far, we have 6 kits, which are listed here. And the impetus for us deciding to do this today is that we just released a mindfulness kit. Since starting in 2017, we've had just over 19,000 downloads. And we're going to show you inside the kits now. So when you actually open them up, this is a lot of what it looks like. So there are actual art materials, there are books, and there's a big binder for families to assist them. There's also a guide for librarians to help them understand, what do I have in my hands? How long do I lend this? What is happening here? What do I need to refill? And then the family materials cover a discussion guide for how to tackle tough topics with little people, healing activities with ready-to-use materials, acts of kindness or more, how to regain power in these situations. Community Helpers is a customizable section where, in addition to the national resources we provide for, say, the death of a pet kit for hospice organizations, or animal rescue organizations, you might also find local offerings that you have trifolds or business cards or anything that you want to tuck into that section. Then the big part, there are picture books that have been reviewed by all of us, each with a discussion and observation guide for families to take that discussion further. In addition, all of the pages from this guide, families are able to keep to continue their healing process after the kit has been returned to a library. So it's important to mention that what these kits do is supply families with an introduction to a healing plan of their own design. We're not trying to tell anybody how to be a parent or how to engage with their own child. They know how to do that best. We're just culminating a really good set of materials and resources, ensuring that they're ethically produced, and then offering them to families to participate in any of those activities to support their families. And it allows you to invest in the wellness of your community. What they don't do is turn you into a therapist, turn anyone in the building into a therapist. They don't take the place of a therapist. They don't guarantee a fix because these things aren't fixed. They're just progressed past or with. And Now we're going to dig into the SEL part. So this is where it's really text heavy, and I'm not going to read all of this. I'll just give you a sample from each one. So we already got to hear a great description from Wendy about each of these 5 core competencies that SEL is sort of lumped into at the moment. When it comes to the self-management piece, a good example of how SEL can help community members is by creating a channel of communication for parents or other safe adults, which is also discussed in the kits, through the discussion guides. When it comes to self-awareness, a great opportunity is there for self-reflection while sharing those picture books on a deeper level with parents. Not only sharing the books, but building empathy with the characters and with that adult who's reading the story with you, because chances are you're both going through that experience. Next, when it comes to social awareness, a great one is the recognition of experiences and how they relate to others through those curated selections of books and the parent-led discussion guides. When we look at relationship skills, there's a lot, but if I were to just offer one sentence, I love that they provide the opportunity to show kindness, and maybe that's a first for some children or families to experience, and give back to their greater community that's discussed in the Acts of Kindness guide, but also in the Community Helpers guide. Finally, we'll do the 5th one. When it comes to responsible decision-making, I like that the Acts of Kindness guide encourages ways for families to become involved with a larger network of caregivers during that period of trauma in meaningful ways. Okay, so here's how you can download and get started. Again, I'm not going to read all of this, but it's free. You just go to the website, go to free downloads, click on the title you want, and you have automatically downloaded a free PDF. We don't gather any data. We're librarians. I don't do that. So this is it. You can start your lending, but I will add, it's great if you can think a little bigger than that, right? So if you're going to lend out one of these kits, consider those local professionals that you've tucked into the community helpers section and ask them, do you want to come and have like a wellness fair at the library? Or do you want to, maybe we could leave a trifold with your organization to refer patients or customers or whatever terminology they have for users back to the library to assist them further. And then share the news with us too. We'd love to hear how things are going. So really quickly, if you did grab a piece of paper or if you'd like to come on camera, you may as well, and you can unmute yourselves if that's a possibility. If not, we can do this in the chat, which means I need to scoot my chat box over here so I can see it. Okay, so we're going to do a healing activity. And if you want to participate virtually in the chat, you can. So I want you to take that piece of scrap paper. And I love that Wendy mentioned the rose, thorn, and bud tool because it's a favorite of mine. And this is kind of similar to that. So I want you to think about, as you've been experiencing these sessions today, go ahead and just scribble some reactions, not thoughts, reactions. It might be cuss words. It might be a particular patron who you just can't get out of your head and the interaction that you've had with them is bothering you. It might be an administrative issue. It may be to do with your personal life. Truly does not matter. Anything that is weighing you down, I want you to go ahead and just get it out on that piece of scrap paper. We're going to take about 15 more seconds to just annihilate that paper. Just go ahead and give it the business. I'm going to write mine down too. I have toddler frustration. Even though this is what I do, it's not hard in the moment. All right, now that you have your paper, I want you to go ahead and I want you to tear it into random pieces, maybe 5, 15, 20, whatever works for you. Go ahead and tear it up. And I need some small ones. And I want you to just rearrange them into something that is, abstract is fine, aesthetically pleasing to you. You can just take those pieces and arrange them. I wish I could show you what I have, but my camera won't tilt. Okay, when you have those all arranged, I want you to take one more, even slower, even deeper breath. So just go ahead and breathe in. And this time you're going to breathe in deeply and hold it. When you exhale, I want you to blow it away. And that's it. Sometimes, especially with your teenagers or your tweens, young kids sometimes get this, but this is actually an activity that we referenced in the kit we created for families dealing with COVID-19. We were struggling with how do we create programming that can be done with no money, especially if you have a family who's borrowing this kit or who has found it and doesn't have an art supply closet the way a library might. So this is something that can be done with scrap paper. This can be done with junk mail. This can be done with cereal boxes or pasta boxes that need to be recycled. You can create a collage out of these items that deals with a tough subject, and you can take a fan if you don't want people using their breath and they can blow it away, or they can use their breath if they're solo and they can blow it away. All right, so now that's the instructions. This is our info for any of you, but we have like a little bit of time if folks have a question.
I'm just thrilled so many people are thinking about ways to implement these type of strategies in their spaces and with the people that they're working with. And I do think the future belongs to the affective paradigm. So thank you all so much for spending your time and your energy doing all this.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, SJSU, for letting us put this session on today. Two slides before this one. I can. Did you mean this one? The instructions one? Let me know if that's the one you wanted, Shamika, because I can go. The other one, was it this one? You're welcome, everybody. Or was it that one, Shamika? One more before. This one? How to get started? Okay, great. Got you. There you go.
Well, thank you all, and we'll see you all doing more work, I'm sure.
Thanks, everybody. And then, Erin, do you want us to stop, or do you want to stop the recording and everything?
You guys can stop.
Okay.
Thank you.
Totally.